Hello my lovelies and welcome to the channel. Look at this beautiful pop of spring colour. Isn't it just joyous? This is the flowering currant. These flowers are really short-lived, so you best make the most of getting out to pick them because you blink and they're gone. In a large pan, I have got 1 kilo of sugar and I'm going to add in a litre of water. So a litre of water weighs a kilo, so it's equal parts water to sugar. And we're going to put the heat on and allow the sugar to dissolve into here before we let it cool, and then add our currant flowers in. When you're making a sugar syrup like this, you'll start to see a scum sort of form on the top here. That's absolutely normal. Don't worry about that because it will dissolve as the sugar fully dissolves in there. It'll start to bubble up and then it'll just go completely clear. I'll show you what it looks like once this has cleared. So this is what it looks like when the scum has cleared and all the sugar has dissolved. Turn the heat down because it's boiling away, but you can see straight to the bottom of the pan, and that's when you know that all the sugar's dissolved. So I'm going to turn the heat off now and allow this to cool down, and we'll come back once it has cooled. So come out for a walk just before the kids get home, just to clear my head and get in the right headspace, and I'm doing this whilst that sugar syrup is cooling down, so 2 birds with 1 stone. And I have spotted some primrose flowers. So these are the primroses, and they are just the epitome of spring. You quite often see Easter cakes decorated with them, and I have a use for these flowers, so I'm going to go ahead and start picking some, and when we get home I will show you what I'm going to make with them. I'm just going to pick the flower part, none of the green. But how sweet are these smiling little faces? We are back and the sugar syrup has cooled down now, which is really important because we do not want the flowers to denature. If you put them in something that's too hot, they will end up kind of going a bit brown and sludgy. So we're going to tip these flowers in and give them a bit of a stir. Now, I quite like the smell of these. They are slightly blackcurranty, and a wee bit geranium scented as well. David, however, thinks they smell like cat pee. Oh, there's a wee leaf in there. It'll be all right. I'll try and get that out. There we are. Remove that one. I don't get the cat pee thing, but then he thinks geraniums smell like cat wee anyway. So that's a him problem, not a me problem. I am going to leave this for a few hours to infuse and impart its beautiful colour, and then we'll come back and see what it's looking like. I have rinsed off these primrose flowers and just allowed them to drip dry for about an hour. Because it's been so dry, the roadside is quite dusty, and whilst these weren't right on the roadside, the dust is travelling, so it's quite important to make sure that you go through and give them a bit of a rinse. Dog hair there, and get rid of any stray dog hairs, just so that they're nice and clean. So I'm going to give these a chop and then we'll move on to the next step. Now that I've chopped up the primrose flowers, I have added them to a bowl with 450 grams of sugar, and I'm just going to stir these about, let them get to know each other. And this is a process known as maceration, and I'm going to leave the flowers and sugar for about 24 hours, and that will draw all the flavours out of the primrose flowers. So this isn't a quick recipe, but it's, you know, it's well worth waiting for. So we're going to be making some primrose curd, and like I grew up loving eating lemon curd, or in Australia it's called lemon butter, and even better is passion fruit butter in my opinion. But this is just something that is beautiful and seasonal and delicate. It's, I think, is the word I would use to describe this, and it has quite a lot of uses. I know it is on the sweet side, but it is the sugar that acts as the preservative here. Anyway, I'm going to cover this with cling film and leave it to sit for 24 hours, and we will come back and continue on with the rest of the process to turn this into the primrose curd.
I want to share this with you guys. I'm in one of my real happy places. I'm going to turn the camera around. I absolutely love being out on the water. I haven't been able to get out on the water in so long, and I just feel like I can breathe again. All is well with the world when I'm out in the kayak on the water. So I just wanted to share this with you guys and show you something a wee bit different from what I normally do.
But I have left the flowering currant to steep overnight. I just thought I may as well leave it, and it's been sat for a good 24 hours now, so it's time to strain this off. I'm going to grab a jug and a sieve and pour this in, and we will see what the colour turns out like. Now, I wasn't overly impressed with the colour of this, so I put it back on the heat just to see if it would draw some of the colour out. It's not really. I have seen some really vibrant pink flowering currant cordials and infused alcohols doing the rounds. So I'm not quite sure what's happened, but it smells beautiful. Maybe not if you're my husband, but I think it smells beautiful. It does have kind of a herbally smell to it, but I think that will be lovely diluted with some sparkling water. Now that we've strained this off, I'm going to grab a funnel and pour that into this glass bottle. Now this is a 1.5 litre glass bottle, which works out just right because there's just about 1.5 litres of cordial or syrup here. Okay, that's maybe not as large a bottle as I thought. I will be back and I'll grab another bottle. So I've got a smaller bottle here, and I should hopefully take the rest of the syrup. There we are. Now there is a slight pink tinge to this. I'll show you that in a second from a different angle. I'll just put the lids on here and we'll let these cool before they go in the fridge. So I don't know if you can see the pink tinge that is there. There is a tinge of pink. Like I said, not as vibrant as I had hoped for, but it's still there and it's going to taste delicious. So that is a flowering currant cordial or syrup, and this can be used to be turned into a drink, or you could pour it over desserts. Just wherever you're looking to give something a nice delicate flavour. And you know, I make cordials all through the summertime, and the kids absolutely love them. So it's lovely to preserve the flavours of a season to enjoy throughout the rest of the year. In a pan here I have got 450 grams of apples. Now the recipe does call for Bramley apples, but I could not find any for love nor money, so I'm using Granny Smith's. You know, we just use what we can get a hold of. There's 100 ml of water and the zest and juice of 2 lemons. So we're just going to put the hob on to about a medium heat, give it a wee bit of a stir, and let this cook down till it's all mushy and can be turned into a puree. It shouldn't take too long to do. A Granny Smith's a good one because it's quite tart, similar to the Bramley apple. I'm quite fond of Granny Smith's anyway. Growing up in Australia, they were a bit of a staple. So I will come back to you once this has cooked down. Now that we've made the apple puree, I've cleaned this pot out and we are going to use it as part of a bain-marie. So I have put the apple puree in the bowl here. Let me zoom out again. There we go. So we have the apple puree in the bowl. The next thing that we're going to add is the primrose sugar that we made yesterday. And this has been infusing overnight. It's been sat for, again, about 24 hours. We're just going to add that into the apple. Making sure to get everything out of the bowl because we don't want to waste any. At this stage, the last thing that we want to be adding is 125 grams of butter. And this is just going to gently melt the butter and dissolve that sugar into the apple puree. I'm just going to turn that down a little bit because it's spitting at me. But this shouldn't take too long to dissolve. We want to make sure that the sugars are incorporated as well as the butter. Now I probably could have chopped this butter up, which would have made it quicker for it to melt. But we live and learn. I have made this recipe before. Well, it was a good few years ago now, and it was absolutely delicious. It's just, I don't know, it's one of those spring things that you have it and you just go, yep, that tastes like spring. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, lemon curd and passion fruit curd and things like that, they bring back memories of childhood growing up in Australia. So it's always nice to have things that bring back really good childhood memories. So now for the tricky bit, we need to incorporate the eggs into this mixture here, and the recipe that I use calls for it to be put through a sieve, and of course this is quite deep, so we're going to have to be a bit clever about this. Good thing about using the sieve is it doesn't matter if you get a wee bit of shell.
This is really hard to do one-handed. I am not used to cracking eggs one-handed. I would recommend cracking these into a bowl first. Okay, so there's 5 eggs. And I'm going to push these through. Now, I didn't mention earlier, I have got some jars sterilising in the oven, so I have put them into a cold oven just to avoid the risk of thermal shock, and that is also the reason why we do that. Well, it's twofold: one, to sterilise, but two, to stop the risk of thermal shock when the hot liquid goes into them. You know, so when you are sterilising your jars, make sure you put them into a cold oven. This is taking forever and a day to go through, but we will see how we get on. I suppose it stops any stringy bits from getting in. But my goodness, I think maybe I could have used a wider meshed sieve. This has got quite a close weave on it, so it's for really finely sifting things. Or I use it a lot when I'm straining things out. My goodness, that is taking a long time to go in. I'm going to grab a balloon whisk, if I can get to it. The other whisk has attached itself. This could prove interesting. Okay, the great whisk tangle of 2025 has been solved. I'm going to call that good. And I'm going to whisk this in so it's all incorporated. And thankfully the eggs haven't scrambled. That is always a concern when you're putting eggs into a hot liquid. Now this is still looking quite runny, and that's okay. It's not been cooked yet, so that is the next stage. I need to turn the heat back on. I'm going to put it onto a medium-low heat and just keep stirring until it has thickened. So I've been stirring this for about 15 to 20 minutes and it has thickened up now. So it is time to turn the heat off, and I'm going to grab the jars out of the oven and then we will jar this up. So now that we've got our thickened primrose curd, I'm going to put this in a jug just to make it easier to pour. And I don't know why I'm making this look and feel so awkward, but anyway. That's that, and I'll bring this forward and pour this in.
Perfect. Just the right amount. I'm going to go and grab some lids. So I have lids here. I'm just going to pop them on. This one's a 2-piece lid, and the other ones are 1-piece lids. Actually, I won't get rid of that tea towel yet because I'm going to need it. So these jars are going to, once they've cooled down, they're going to go in the fridge, and they'll keep in the fridge quite happily for a month. So these are 2 really simple recipes that you can use to preserve some of the spring bounty that is around us and enjoy them through the year. Now, I haven't ever water bathed curd, but I'm sure it's possible, but I will be using this up fairly quickly. I have a number of events coming up through this month that it will probably get used for. If you'd like any more information on those events, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And these events are local, so if you're local, get in touch and I will pass the details on to you. As always, thank you so much for joining me this week while I potter about in the kitchen and enjoy preserving some of this beautiful harvest that we have just now. If this is a video that you have enjoyed, then hit that like and subscribe button. And if there is somebody that you know who would enjoy the content like this, please feel free to share the channel with them. Until next time, my lovelies, take care of yourselves.